Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Summerfest here. Kenneth Lang here in northern New Jersey. Looking to have an exciting group of people today, and I'm so happy that everyone's coming out, not just to support me, but to support everyone else out there. I got Christine Dykman down in Central Jersey so far, Kevin Turner out in Texas, and Hannah Morgan, career Sherpa. I really didn't come up with a specific topic for today because I thought we would just all chat about things. Although the one thing that comes to mind, Kevin, is the changes, the ongoing changes.
The rapid ongoing changes. And I think we've all talked a little bit about this, before the last couple of years, when really Microsoft got really involved with LinkedIn as an owner, that they put out, as we understand, they put out KPIs for LinkedIn. So
Mhm.
every quarter, they've got to get between 15 to 20 new LinkedIn features. Well, that's why we always have this kind of craziness every 3 months at the very end, right? And we've got 2 days left.
Okay.
And I figure we're about three short. So they're going to be something popping out there, something surprising. I did see a couple people sent me that the Discovery had come out, and
Hmm.
that's the tabbed area that will tell you when somebody gets a new job or when they, I don't know what is in their new job, promotion, and I can't remember what the third one was, but birthday. So those will be in mobile and supposedly in desktop later, but they think they just got those out, so they could count them. So I think there's a couple more still working, that are going to pop out here in the next day or so.
So I want to tell you, it's such a privilege to have you on, Hannah Morgan, because for so long we had, I get the career Sherpa, messages all the time, and I always wanted to actually, to learn about you and your background, and you've been so welcoming, and it's great because I know Christine, I've talked to people about Hannah's email and her list, and the same with Kevin. So it's great for you to actually be here today too.
I'm really honored to be here. Ken, it's been so fun seeing you take off with over the past, like since the pandemic, with all of your initiatives to help bring people together. And that's one of the things that I love so much about the careers industry is that it's a really strong community. And so whether we're tapping into Kevin for his expertise and LinkedIn, or, we're trying to, build a robust network, whatever it is, the community here is really strong, and that's what I've been so loving about this whole thing. So,
So I'm just going to be joining. We have Lauren Greif now coming on. Yay.
Hey.
Long time no see, Lauren. How are you?
I'm so happy to see you guys. Some of
Happy
my
to see you.
hey, Lauren.
hello, Christine, Kevin, Kenneth, Hannah.
So what's been going on with you, Lauren? You're moving out to North Carolina soon, aren't you?
I am. I'm doing a test drive. I wish everyone would do a try before they buy, either in their job search or in a move that takes you to a new place. And so we're thinking about moving to North Carolina when our lease is up in April. But
Hmm.
before we go and make that big move, we're going to try it for a month.
Good for
So,
you.
Great.
So
this
smart.
So I mean, if people, a lot of great people coming in. I just want to recognize as many as I can. And if you have questions or comments, definitely. I mean, G is coming in from Texas, and Nigel Cliff. I just missed him. I think he's coming in from the UK
Mhm.
as well. Tegan's going to be joining us in a bit. Um, so Tegan, I think you probably know Tegan very well, Lauren, right?
totally, yes,
And
she's part of the Chicago Hood, along with
the Chicago
Erica and a couple of other people here that I'm sure I'm forgetting. Sorry.
and Bob McIntosh, who is joining us. He wasn't able to be on the panel, but of course. And then, Jude. I met Jude through Brenda Miller's group. Brenda's going to be joining us hopefully later on this afternoon. Um, it's kind of challenging for a lot of us now because it's also start of a school year for a lot of people. And first of all, Hannah, congratulations on your son.
Thank
Um,
you.
Mhm.
Go SJU, right? St. Joseph's in Philly. We'll be making lots of trips down there.
No, but it's been
Big
such a
deal.
great experience. And then um, I have to do a parent shout out. My daughter-in-law just started a job on Monday, so that makes three employed in the family right now. Um, yeah, so it's all really cool. Kevin, I want to try to get down to see you this year. I mean, I've been
Yeah,
talking, I'm
yeah.
serious about this, trying to do road trips and everything. Um, and my first thought is to go to Canton and Columbus and take, see Jeff Young and, hopefully people down there. But I really do. I really look forward to the in-person stuff. Christine,
Oh,
you
yeah.
you can relate to when we met with Alex and Marty and Lisa Rangel, the diner. It is so cool to be able to do that, and this is the next best thing. Um,
Absolutely.
so I'd be curious, just in general. We talked about the changes on LinkedIn and the ongoing changes, and the changes upon changes. Are there any things? I happen to love the tagging right now, the ability to tag people on a post. I think that's really, really good. Is there anything specific, Lauren, Hannah, Christine, that you like about some of the changes or things you'd like to see actually as part of LinkedIn? Anyone?
I'll tell you one thing that. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go,
No,
Christine.
I was actually going to ask you, Kevin, of all the changes that we were talking, there's just so many changes. And how do they decide? How does LinkedIn decide what to change and what to leave put or what to enhance or what to take away? How do they make that decision?
They do have product teams. So they have teams assigned to certain categories. Mobile is a product team, audio events is a product team, live is a product team, believe it or not, separate from audio events. And it moves on. And they've even got a group that just does the company pages. And only just recently have those teams started to kind of collaborate, right? Talk to each other. Oh, I've got something that you might like. And that happened yesterday or maybe a day before. And even on this live segment we're doing now, if you're on LinkedIn Live, you can go up and you can see the little networking tab. You can click on that networking tab. It's going to tell you who's here, and it'll give you some other areas like, they're from your local area or they're from your industry. Here's the whole group. You can now, like groups can, you can now contact anybody in a LinkedIn Live who pressed attend. So you can send them a message. If you're not connected, if they're beyond the third level, right, up into the sixth level, you can send them a free InMail, no charge to you.
Really?
You can send that, and that connectivity is really cool. So that was something that the audio group started with audio events, and it's been real successful for people networking and really good for job seekers, especially, if you see a panel of 10 people you want to get to know, this is the place you can get to know them and break down those barriers and be able to contact them. So I thought that was really cool. And
I think that definitely speaks to what LinkedIn is all about. If LinkedIn's whole goal is networking and getting to know other people who know people, that is really paramount. So I'm very happy to see that.
It's great they're doing it because you think about LinkedIn, what's a $17 billion business? 65% of that annual revenue comes from selling members to other members.
Right.
That's Sales Navigator, Talent Solutions. That's where the money is. So for them to do this kind of circumvents, in a way, those products. So it is really a statement that LinkedIn is backing up that we're here for networking. We're here to make people have a better life, because basically they're saying, we'll get rid of a little of that revenue stream. Here is a freebie, use it. And that's what I encourage people to do. Use it so much that they go, we're going to continue to do this in other areas.
So look who just joined us now. Tegan just joined us from Chicago. And Rob, we've never had the pleasure of chatting. So thank you very much for joining us. So go ahead, Rob.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for organizing this, Ken. And I've been following your content, and everyone here is rock stars of LinkedIn. So it's nice to see you all. I hope you've all had lovely summers. And yeah, any way I can be of assistance or get to know you better and help, I'm all for it.
Well, we're all just doing a LinkedIn chat and just talking about maybe some of the things that we do in best practices. Tegan, you work a lot with Dan Roth on top of everything else. Um, and I don't know where you put the time, how you have the time to do everything. I know I sometimes wonder how I have the time to do what half of what I do.
Yeah, my plan is organized out to the T from 4 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. It is back to back to back. And that's why I tell everybody, if you want time, you better get it on my calendar, because my calendar's booking out 2 to 3 months now.
Yes.
So if my husband's watching, you got to make sure you have that date night on there, so that time doesn't get filled with something else.
Well, my wife knows not to come in at this time. I mean, I have contractors in the house, and I even told them just to let them know. But if I get one of those surprises and I have someone, Ken, do you have a minute? Well, join the chat. But that's what's fun about this. I mean, I had Carrie. I don't know if you know Carrie, who does Carrie Sanders, who does the video things. She actually had her son on, and her son joined, and her son wanted like something opened up, like a snack or something, and she actually reached out to me. She wanted a copy of it because she wanted to use that as part of a video as to how you handle things.
Yes.
I did a master class over the weekend, and my son woke up from his nap naked, and I'm like, you better not come on this side of the screen. Go ask your dad. But that's the beauty of LinkedIn and LinkedIn Lives and LinkedIn events. People get to see, a part of who we are in our lives and why we do what we do, because that's the biggest part of why anybody's on LinkedIn and actively using it. The tribe that we have cultivated as career experts, it goes above and beyond who you see on this screen and who's going to be on this screen later. It's played out in all of the lives of the people that we touch, and those are the people who inspire us.
Completely. I just want to ask a quick question, because Kevin was talking about a new feature, and I just want to know what the name of it is, so that all of our users and job seekers can go and find this. And you talked about it from LinkedIn audio events, where you are no longer required to go through some of the older channels to connect with them. What is that called?
And here's the beauty of LinkedIn. I don't know if they ever gave it a name, and they've never put it in LinkedIn Help, right? So it's like one of those hidden gems. If you know it's there, I just call it networking, because when you look up at the tabs, that's what you'll have. You'll have comments now, which we've always had on live, and you'll have another tab right next to it. It'll say networking. So click on networking, and wow, they actually named it what it is.
Okay.
So I'm going with that. I'm calling it networking.
So I understand this only is available through LinkedIn audio, right?
No, it
Live.
started in LinkedIn audio.
And lives.
Now it's on live, and the cool thing about it too is it's retro. So let's say you sat in a live 3 weeks ago that you were like, that was hot. There was all these people I want to know. You can now go back, find that live, or even find that audio, which you can't hear the audio, but you can see the event. Right? You can even find that one, and you can go back and start networking using that new networking tab. And so
that is
cool.
So
Yes.
unbelievably huge. And I feel like you, Kevin, should be responsible for a branded, not blanded name for this, because not only do you know all the nuances, but when it becomes just something that sounds generic, we don't get to experience the level of usage that it really needs to be rewarded for. I mean, this is a really cool feature that eliminates that barrier. And that's usually one of the biggest sticking points with people building those relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
Welcome, Beth Granger. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you very much. I mean, we have to get together in the city, and I know I've said that many, many times, but we will. A shout out to our common connection, who is now a grandma again, Bryn Tillman.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my, it's just so cool. So So what are you up to these days, Beth?
Oh, working and playing. During the pandemic, I found for the first time in my life a work-life balance that I am fighting to keep and not give up
Okay,
because I wasn't traveling as much and on trains, planes, and automobiles.
right.
So, and just enjoying working with really interesting clients and enjoying my time when I'm not working as well.
That's for sure. I think one of the challenges that we all talk about is a work-life balance. I mean, this all the but and what strikes me is all the different terms that are coming out for stuff which we've kind of talked about for like the quiet quitting thing absolutely cracks me up. I mean, among other things, it's like
That
Well,
term.
with
I
quiet
know
fire.
I brought that up, Hannah, because I knew I was
Lawyers
going to.
I hate the term. It's like just doing your job, right? Like it's crazy how we have to give that such a horrible name for people that are just trying to pare back and do a 40-hour week instead of a 60-hour week. Why is that quitting in any way, shape, or form?
Well, that's the beauty of social media is that influencers get to coin these catchy phrases that go viral. Everybody copies off of it, and then all of a sudden there's like content for a week until the next new thing gets talked about.
So true.
Yeah.
And
That's why-
and I said in my comment too, it brings light to the fact that this is an issue, right? I don't care what you call it. The fact is nobody should be working over 60 hours a week for a job that they're not getting paid to work that much. So
Mm-hmm.
It's the life of an entrepreneur.
Right.
You were saying
That's
work-life
different.
balance, Beth. I was like, I just keep working, but I love it.
It's
So
fun.
is it really work? I don't know.
Does
but,
it really work?
Exactly.
I feel like when
money's
you own
coming
your
in
own
and the work's
business,
going
it's
well,
different.
and you just don't
Yes.
stop sometimes. We got to be better at that.
I got to post Andy's comment here. Quiet quitting is abject nonsense.
Another shy town.
I mean, Andy and I consider ourselves Don Quixotes. We wish for all these things to happen on LinkedIn, and we know they're not going to happen, but we figure it's worth a shot. And Andy puts up his things, his wish list. I do my thing. John Esperian does his, and we do it pretty much just because we wish and wish and wish, and maybe someday they'll hear us, and we know they won't. But Kevin,
Well,
no,
they
go ahead.
might.
They
Okay,
do.
A
They do.
few years ago,
okay,
4 or 5 other LinkedIn trainer types and I all wrote an article, the same article, signed
okay.
by all of us. So we each posted it as an article or a post. I don't remember which it was.
Mhm.
And we sent the letter to the CEO of LinkedIn at the time with some
Okay.
chocolate covered strawberries.
Oh,
Oh,
And we got a call from the head of usability.
okay. So that's going to be the tack then.
Mhm.
Um,
I think if enough people band together and talk about a topic or something that we need, it doesn't always work. I mean, look at groups, but for certain things, yeah. Like if they get rid of the ability to reply without accepting, I think we have to go crazy. So
right. I think
As long as we send chocolate covered strawberries with it too.
I think that's the key. Chocolate.
I want to highlight that as a great creative ambush, right? You were able to really get their attention by not going through the old route of sending another email that, let's face it, can be flicked off like that.
And it was very much written well. It was how much we love LinkedIn. Here are some things we'd like to see. How much we love LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So the cookie approach.
so that's the plan. Andy had started a group, a Creators United group on there, which I guess was a good first step. It would be great if a few of us could get together and brainstorm and come up with a real list and send it to them, and with our recognition, because we all come from a place of we want to do the right thing with LinkedIn, and I really want to believe that some of what they see they don't know about. I want to believe that the automation is something that they're overwhelmed by. I want to believe that they just don't have control and they just rely too much on AI and things. But because I just don't think the higher ups really realize it. That's my gut. Is I think that they rely on the product owners and the 20 and 30 somethings out there that are more into the design and less into the execution. But again, that's just me talking. I don't know if that's a fair analogy or not.
to me, that's an interesting issue because I think a lot of the growth in LinkedIn before Microsoft bought in, a lot of that was bot driven, not by LinkedIn, but by other people for whatever their nefarious reasons are to do that. There's a lot of different ones, right? And you get involved, and now you've got a new owner, and you want to tell the new owner that I got to ditch 50 million profiles, and your value of your company now is going to, because all of a sudden you've lost people, right? I think that's what's going on. I think there's some pressure in there. They want to be able to do it, but they want to do it in a way that it takes the right amount of time to kind of weed them out as they're bringing new people in. If they had a really good growth surge at the same time that they could hide letting these bots out of there, basically cleaning, right? Then that's what's going to happen. So I think there's going to be a time frame where we're going to see that happen very rapidly, but it's going to be associated with growth, but it's not going to look like much growth. So I think it's coming.
Well, do you think that it will play out that, I mean, if you have all these teams in LinkedIn and they're all concentrating on one area and they're just starting to collaborate a little bit, are they on that information overload because they have so much information to kind of sort out and figure out what would work for them, as opposed to maybe putting AI aside, kind of like a job board, and just really kind of going back to square one, like a job seeker, and reaching out and putting all those pieces A, B, and C together like those Legos?
I have no idea if LinkedIn will ever do that. I don't know. I mean, it's such a massive organization for them to kind of almost rethink the way they're putting things together. I don't know if they'll do it. I do know that there are groups assigned to, the kind of the AI development within LinkedIn, the engineering components of that, and they are assigned with this whole identifying and, basically destroying automation in that process. The thing is, there are things that we do sometimes that get us caught up, and we look like automation. We all know Jeff Young, great guy. For a while, because he couldn't get the feed to work for him, he would have his little list, and he would click on them, go right to the profile, see what you wrote next, and he would comment. And because he would open it up, and he would open up 50 tabs, LinkedIn saw that as automation. And they put him in jail. And that's embarrassing and loses time, and they can't tell you that, but I know that was what went on because I got behind the scenes with a couple of people to kind of get him out of the situation.
All right, so Kevin,
so we can look like automation, and so the more we push them to eliminate automation, the more of us are going to end up in jail at times, and we got to get ready for it. Because if
Kevin, how do people like us who are experts get to LinkedIn and say, hire us as a contractor, hire us as a consultant, let's do a project, we have expertise, hire us for 3-6 months, whatever. They used to do that in the help section where people actually, I think, answered help and support. Is that a pipe dream, or do you think that could happen?
No, I don't know if they will pay you, but they will definitely take your help, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's a relationship. They're people, right? And they all have tasks ahead of them. And if you think about it, if every one of these development groups has to come up with 15 to 20 new LinkedIn features every quarter, they really want to hear you. But they want to hear you tell them something that they can say, aha, I could code that. Aha, that doesn't destroy my revenue stream. And we could get that together within a 3-month period. That's what they want to hear. And they are open. I know Beth and I, we've had quite a few conversations lately on different things. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Why would you do that? How would you do that? Send me samples of it. So they are listening, but it starts with building a trusted relationship. Okay. I always call them insiders, right? I mean, that's who they are. But they do like us outsiders as well. And they do know that sometimes we know stuff that they don't know.
And they bring us in. I mean, I'm sure every single one of us has been contacted by insiders asking us for our thoughts, feedback, what comes next, and they are. One thing I will say, every single LinkedIn employee that I've spoke to can't emphasize enough the culture that LinkedIn has. And so we're not going to get Tesla type of results from LinkedIn's culture. It's just not going to happen. They value work-life balance far too much to see rapid changes, because if Elon Musk came over and took over LinkedIn, there'd be a whole new platform, by the end of the year, but not with how it's ran now. And I think that as career coaches, that despite how frustrating it is, we should really appreciate that the company is doing right by their employees while still trying to do right by their users.
I agree, but if there was some way that they could have an accreditation or some certificate or some ability to say that I have gone to LinkedIn, I've tasted, I've sipped from the grape juice or whatever it is, but now I have a shingle per se that might help. Again, I would work for free for them for a little while.
But Ken, they don't even know how we use it. In other words, they're so isolated.
Yeah.
They don't know how people are using the platform.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the rest of you, but in various beta programs, if you've spoken to any product manager or engineer, they really care about what they're doing. So they really want to do a good job. Where Ken and I met, the group's listening tour, they asked all the right questions.
Yep.
We just don't know what happened between that great information and implementation, why they weren't allowed to do certain things, or what we don't hear after our insights are given.
Well, what is important to us may not be the priority internally.
Right.
So there's
Exactly.
probably a very different
Oh, sure.
set of criteria and agenda. But I do want to ask a question. I feel like, not embarrassed, but I feel like this is kind of beating a dead horse. What is going to happen with groups? I feel like it's like the bastard stepchild that sits there and nobody pays attention to this thing that has been defunct for so long and yet holds so many clusters of information.
My group is popping. Lauren, you're in there. Be a more active user. We are crushing the freaking group game.
Okay. I fair enough. I love that you called me out on that.
I mean,
Thank
Beth and I went there many times, a couple of times. The whole group thing, all the promises that we gave them great feedback. I honestly think it's very simple, some of the issues. I think technically there's so many groups that are out there, and duplicate and triplicate and quadruple, and they don't know where to start getting rid of the groups. And I think it's also because where the groups are in existence. I mean, I think it's more of a technical issue than anything else.
I think it's a revenue stream issue.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that. I mean,
But they circumvent the 6 degrees of separation. You can go into a group and you can network with anybody in that group. People figure that out. People join groups only to connect with people in the group.
Well, now they're going to be doing that with lives.
Well,
Yeah.
they will. But at least with live, they got to get active, and maybe they're going to learn something in the process. And it's a little more public, in that sense. It's not kind of a closed area. But
they made LinkedIn
to me, that was
Live
why they
for groups.
never started. They really started dialing back on groups, and then they never really supported groups going forward. And I know that that's an internal issue. They've had that discussion.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the reasons that it's kind of like a stepchild within LinkedIn. And so once you get labeled like that in a big company, nobody's going to give you resources. Nobody's going to give you anything because, first of all, you're just kind of fixing something that's not been working in their view, right? When they really want new stuff that looks like it's going to do something, that's the new feature stuff that they've got the KPIs for. So fixing the old stuff is out at LinkedIn.
But think about Facebook. Think about how many coaches are on Facebook, have groups for their masterminds where they go live, have exclusive content, keeping people on the platforms and selling ads within that space.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think they're making a mistake. But I'm not running that show. But I know what they're saying, why they don't do it. And it's just, that has just been kind of relegated to something that nobody wants to really fix within LinkedIn.
Right. I agree with that. I think Andy wanted to know if anyone on the screen has ever been suspended.
Yeah. I'm a 3-timer. I know there's a 4th coming.
A bunch of my friends have been.
I was suspended once.
Did any of you find out why? So there are a lot of theories people have, but
No.
I feel like I'm too close to all of you then. I might rub off on me.
Well, we actually created a group. We had anyone remember site-wide automated moderation, SWAM? I mean, there was a group where we were all blocked on LinkedIn from doing things, so we created a group, and when we all got back together and we just talked about it. You know, there's like 170, 180 of us, and we found out that none of us knew what was going on and why we were being, you know.
Well, I know one of them because I had a long conversation. I was the benefit of what we call a spite pod. And it was a group of about 14 people who came after my profile and reported me all on the same day, every day for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
LinkedIn reports blow out the ceiling and they're going, we've got to look for something on that profile. The only thing they could find on the profile at the time was that I used the D in Kevin D. Turner. You weren't allowed to do that. You can only use first name, you can only use last name, and it had to match your driver's license. So, Kenneth, you couldn't have been Ken for a long time, right?
Wow.
And that was how it was. And they had to even send my driver's license. And believe it or not, my driver's license says Kevin D. Turner.
Right.
Technically, my middle name, won't tell you what it is. That's part of the fun. But that's what I got thrown out for. And it was because a group of people got together. So there are spite pods. Now, there might be good spite pods, like if you see somebody who is sexually harassing people, that went on today, somebody brought that up, you get a group of people to report it all at once, and then LinkedIn will look. If they get one report here and there, automation will handle that, say it's no violation.
So I got to ask you, Kevin, when you are unfrozen, or I'll ask the crew, what do you think of the
You
algorithm?
get that many coming in all of a sudden at one time. Did we get knocked out there for a moment? Was that
Right, Kevin, I have a question for you. I have an algorithms question, not an algorithm question, but an algorithms question.
good? Because there is no such thing as a LinkedIn algorithm.
I know.
There are many.
So here's my question. Is it true that some of the things that get there that have thousands of likes and all of these comments and all that, is it because of some paid system or something like that, or is it just that it's great content? I mean,
It can vary. You know, it could be timely content. It could be content that an editor decided they liked, so they give a thumbs up. That's a big accelerator, right?
Okay.
It could just be that the right amount of people are interacting with it quick enough that LinkedIn sees value and pushes it forward. There's a lot of different things that can make it. And sometimes it's the dumbest content that does that. Sometimes the smart content does too, but rarely. But you think about it, what LinkedIn is measuring is, you know, did you get pleasure from it, right? Did it make you happy? Did you look at it? If it was that dog video that keeps coming up and you keep looking at it, well, you're the fault, Ken, right? We all are. And sometimes we don't want to admit that we like the dumb content sometimes. And just that little hovering over it a couple times, looking at that picture one more time, the cute dog, right? We've made it possible.
Yeah, Claire, those puppy pictures.
So just on the reach perspective, again, I don't know if anyone else is finding this, but I'm beta testing carousels. I'm not getting, and it seems to be any of the products that come out of beta, even when you host a LinkedIn audio event and you have to do the automatic post, that post dies. I've been doing carousels recently. They don't seem to be getting the reach. Is it something linked to the fact that the product's in beta, or they just don't understand that you need to give people, if these new things are out there, a chance for these features to really kick off? I don't know what people's thoughts on that are, but I just find it's super interesting that you beta test all these things and they don't seem to give you much of a chance to get the reach.
I don't think most people know that you're trying something new. They just look at that and they just think it's a video, right? Everybody can do videos. Everybody's done video. I like videos. I don't like videos. Or Rob, half of the people are going, well, Rob got carousel and I hate that. I hate Rob for getting carousel. Going faster, right? So there's a lot of different things in there that come into play. But LinkedIn, although people always say this, because it's brand new, LinkedIn is going to give it a boost. LinkedIn doesn't give it a boost. People give it a boost. You're like, wow, that's cool. That's brand new. And when carousel really did kind of hit, it got a boost. But now everybody's
Yeah.
like, I already know that. That's carousel, and they won't let me have it, so I don't care. I can do that with video, right? And so the boost is gone. LinkedIn never gave it the boost. The people give it the boost. Same thing with like polls. Polls have died. It wasn't that LinkedIn said polls are no longer good. People said polls are no longer good. When polls came out, people were like, wow, that's cool. I haven't seen that since 2013. And they all responded to them.
Right, but that isn't that,
right, Kenneth?
that the life cycle of innovation, right? After a while, it's no longer a new right? And so it either has to be augmented with some other, partner innovation on top of something else. So, for example, we had Live, but now Live also has this new functionality, so it's revived.
Yeah,
so unless it kind of has a new reason for being, I think it's just human nature that it's not that exciting anymore. And so the algorithms, right, aren't going to necessarily be able to stoke something that isn't generated by an excitement from the users.
Well, and think about what time of year it is.
Exactly.
Kids are going back to school. Companies are doing layoffs left and right. So everyone's spending more time focused on saving their job or trying to find a new one. The holidays are coming up. People, like this time of year, I feel like content can sometimes be cyclical, depending on what season it is.
Such a good point.
So with that said, Tegan, do you think that all of the new additions and rollouts should be a certain time of the year because you're countering for that cyclical societal changes?
Heck no, I say bring them on when they're ready. Let's go. Let's amp it up and let's keep them coming, because next week I'm going to go visit my mom. If there's a new rollout, I don't care, because I'm going to actually be living my life. And I know I've got Kevin and Kenneth. Yes. When I come back to fill me in.
Dude, that's our life is.
Right? I love learning from everyone else, and you guys figure it all out and tell me.
So, when's it acceptable to come out of beta, just out of interest, with these features? Because again, with audio, we spent 7-8 months, and a few people here, repeatedly saying key features, and then the product comes out of beta without those key features. Does that make sense to come out of beta when the creators have been consistently saying very obvious features that are lacking? What's the rationale for that? Or does anyone have any thoughts or experiences? Because that was the first time I was involved in a beta program, and I was amazed by how there was no listening then.
And in the beginning, it seemed like they were listening because they were responding in the group.
Yeah.
But even if they had said, look, we tried to get this and we can't, then we would have either accepted it or not, but we would have known. It's that unknown part of it that we don't know. Are they going to add the features? Is it worth our time, the huge amount of time that we've invested and will continue to invest if we want to use that feature?
And I think we blew them away because we came up with all the things they really should have had at the beginning, and it's a redesign.
I want to welcome Lynn. Kevin, I want to welcome Lynn Williams and Jeff Boltman here to the chat. Lynn, we are now at, looking forward to learning from everyone else here now about this. Jeff and Lynn, welcome. We're just talking about everything related to LinkedIn. So just join the chat any way you like.
Absolutely. So how do we get mobile and desktop people together and not live in silos?
They're not allowed to talk to each other. I'm convinced they're in separate, pre-COVID, separate buildings. They're not allowed. Their pass won't let them in the building.
You know what I did notice, though? In Help, every time something comes out, whether it's desktop or mobile, they've changed the wording that says currently it is available only in mobile, which I've pushed back to quite a few people, and they say their understanding is if it comes out in mobile and it can come out on desktop, it should, and vice versa. So they're always planning for it, but no, they never talk together. But one thing that's kind of cool about having two competing groups inside one company is innovation, right? I'm going to make you look bad, desktop group. I'm going to make you look bad, mobile group. and so they're competing, and we win. And now there's this new little charge that, okay, if one group did it, the other group has to make it work on theirs. And I think that's going to lend much better product. Now, they're so totally different on what you can do on mobile and what you can do on a desktop. You know, there's going to be challenges in making some of this stuff translate. I mean, you can't do that pinch, pull, and twist like you can on those added titles, you know, in an image on a desktop. I mean, I guess you could, but not as easy. So I think everything won't transfer, but they're supposed to try.
Ken, who is on the executive leadership team at LinkedIn on products? Can we tag them and just be like, hey, y'all, somebody's coming for your job. Y'all better watch out.
That will be my number 4 banning on LinkedIn. You're taking us down a bad road, Tegan.
Mine was for, I signed in, I'm almost positive that I have it figured out, that I was I like to go to the library to work. I just do. The views are beautiful. It gets me out of like this dark lit condo. And I don't think I signed out. And then because it was either like the VPN was different from where I had signed in next. And it said I had to reset my password. I had to send my driver's license in, and they had it fixed. But what was weird when it happened to me is I never got a notification. I got an email saying that I think your account has been hacked. So weird. So you never know. And this is part of the confusing thing about being a LinkedIn user is that even half the people who work there don't know actually what the issue is. So it would be nice if they could, you know, cross-functionally work a little bit more effectively with one another. I mean, I get it. Like you said, it drives innovation, but come on, there are so many better ways to do things. But at the same time, we love you, LinkedIn.
Yeah. But sometimes it's easier to identify the effect than it is to identify the cause.
Yeah.
And so LinkedIn will out you for an effect. You opened up too many profiles too fast. They didn't know the cause for, like Jeff, was that he opened all his tabs automatically. They assumed it was automation, right? And technically it was.
Yeah.
And so they outed him. So a lot of times they can figure out the actual action, but not the cause. I can't tell what plugins you have in your browser, but I can tell your browser are doing automated things. And so that's where it gets down to. They can't get that far in, but they can identify things that look like automation or do things that are inappropriate. They can identify those, but they don't go back and try to figure out why. We're supposed to know, and usually if you're in jail, you kind of do know, right? I always see people posting about, I was in jail and I never do anything wrong. And you're like, I've watched you. You do everything wrong. You know, it's like, it's no big deal that you're in jail. You're supposed to be. You know?
I know. I was at a networking event on Thursday. I was a speaker at the Lead the Movement Business Conference, and I'm going and I'm connecting with everybody, and then I get the pop-up. You've connected with too many people. I'm like, okay, no more. Sorry.
You're being social.
So here you go. Tomar Cohn is the Chief Product Officer at LinkedIn.
Yeah, Andy, get him in here. All right, guys, on that note, I'm headed out. Have a wonderful summer. Thank you for hosting this summer party.
Sure.
It's already fall here in Chicago, but, you know.
All right. Okay, so just to continue, this is, I guess, a question as much for Kevin as anything else. So how much does Microsoft want LinkedIn run without their interference? Any thought about that? Because I wish. I mean, but I think now it's all Microsoft, and there's no specific LinkedIn.
I think there's a lot of things LinkedIn has control of, but there are, you know, like any ownership of an organization, you've given them goals, and so they still have to get to the goals, but they have control of the day to day. They're running their own ship, but they know they've got to deliver also. So I think they've got a lot of control. It is theirs, but Microsoft is going to tell them, here's the goals. This is what we want to get done. You know, and so
I have a question about newsletters, Kevin, and everybody. Can we stop getting those reminders? And what is really the future of newsletters?
Well, I mean, you can turn off your newsletter reminders so you don't get any reminders.
Right.
And hopefully you see them in your feed or you see them in your email, right? One or the other. And that's a weird thing, because if you actually see a newsletter in the feed, if you pause on it for a certain amount of time or you interact with it for a certain amount of time, you may not receive the newsletter email because they figured you already interacted with it. And if you read the wording on the newsletter, it'll say, we'll show it to you one way or another.
But I guess, Kevin, my thing is this:
So,
if you
kinda weird.
unsubscribe, you're getting rid of all newsletters in the feed. It's kind of like a hitting the gavel, and that's to do with any notification. I don't want to maybe get rid of all of them. Maybe I want to determine what types I want or some subset.
That's called subscribe and unsubscribe. Because you can always go back and read their newsletter as an article.
Yeah.
So if you don't want it in your feed or in your email box, you unsubscribe.
Okay.
I try not to have more than 50 newsletters, and sometimes that varies a little bit. But if I realize I'm not reading it, but I still like the author, I will unsubscribe, and then I'll just check every now and then to see what they're doing.
Lynn, did you have something you want to add? Lynn and Jeff, you guys are quiet.
I'm trying to pick up where the conversation is.
It's everywhere.
The conversation is whatever you want it to be.
I get a couple newsletter invitations here and there, but they definitely come in waves. Like I get a whole big batch of them. Is everybody else experiencing that also?
Yes.
All right.
I think that's natural. End of the month, people don't do much, right? Beginning of the month, maybe not so much. Middle of the month, I got to get something going. So I think there's a natural flow for humans to do stuff like that. And I think that's why you get them all at once. Or they get a newsletter invite and they go, I've been working on mine for 3 weeks. I got to get mine out today. And they do it, right? And then they stimulate others to do that too. So I think some of that is just natural flow. LinkedIn isn't holding them back. They release as soon as you publish. They release that to your entire network one time.
There were some problems about that not happening, the release not happening.
I didn't see any. What may have happened is if they released it and nobody liked it, nobody subscribed to it. And I know that did happen because some people put out nothing, almost like a blank newsletter just to get people to subscribe. They didn't subscribe. I looked at, I'm not subscribing to that. There was nothing there. Or it was something, but it wasn't enough for me to say I want that in my list. And therefore, you can have that just dead end happen. I think that happened to people.
So
they still got
it
a few
does seem like
subscribers.
they send the notifications the same time, like it's set to happen at 2:00 in the afternoon or whatever it is, because suddenly in my email I'll get 10 of them.
So I have regrets from the past. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I put like 180 articles under publications before I did it. Then I started articles and then I started the newsletter. But, all the stuff that I've written, like, as I say, about 180 articles, they're all in my publications. So, why do we even have a publication section, now if we have newsletters and articles available?
And those are your long term, right?
Yeah.
When you put it into an article form or a newsletter that becomes an article, that's your long term stuff. Your other stuff is short term. But what's nice is, you can always do your data download, do the 2-day data download. Every single thing you've ever written, post wise, article wise, newsletter, comments, it's all there and sorted. And you can actually go back and rebuild all that stuff. And it'll even tell you what images you use. Sometimes it'll even supply the images as well. So,
Have you ever, speaking of the download, I just downloaded it yesterday. We got the full download today. Have you ever looked at all the different things? There's one that was a little creepy. It was inferences. I forget what it was called. Oh, inferences about you.
Yep. That is very creepy. And you can change that. You can manipulate that. I've been able to do that based on what they say about you, right? And so if you don't like it, you can change how they're perceiving that. And it does take about 30 to 90 days to make an effect. but you can watch it happen. So if they say you like to buy electric cars and you don't, you start commenting on gas cars and saying they're great all the time, and you start deleting electric car ads, that will change. I only use that example because that was in there and I don't know where that came from. But it said I was an electric car buyer, which I love electric cars. I love all cars. I'm not buying one right now. Not, you know,
I'll wait for Claire to get back on screen.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Bobby. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm at a cottage, but I thought I'd join the conversation. And I seem you're talking about newsletters, so I apologize for jumping in.
We're talking about anything LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. I'll share my thoughts on newsletters. I was all very hot and interested in newsletters when it started because, you know, I've done content for many years across, you know, all the different platforms with my 500,000 followers on Twitter and 30,000 on Instagram, but I only had 2,000 newsletter subscribers on my website. So when I saw it was coming, I've been trying to get newsletters for a long time. And I remember me and John Spearn were talking about it. And I was like, I'm going to put something together really amazing. Let's do this. And it was great. You know, 8,000 subscribers the first 6 days. And then I kept doing, and instead of doing it bi-weekly, I did it almost every week. And I got up to 12,500. But by about the 6th or 7th edition, I started to notice that the numbers were just falling significantly. And in my mind, and also the people that I subscribe to, I was not getting their newsletters. So to my mind, that first push was really great that goes to everybody. But after that, it's not going to everybody, which bothers me because it's like if people sign up to subscribe, I would want to get it. So I subscribed to, for example, Judy Fox and Jonas Spearn's newsletters, and I never got notified of any of their newsletters, which was a big bummer because I'm missing out on their stuff. So people are missing out on my stuff. And so I started doing less and less. So now newsletters, I don't do them as much anymore. It's still part of my overall strategy, but it's way less frequent. I'm probably doing them once every at this point I haven't done one in all summer, so it might be a quarterly thing or a monthly thing, but it's unfortunately I'm not getting the reach. And so for me, it's a bit of a bummer that it's shifted that way. And the other thing of course is, you know, the data is really hard for me to download. I'd love to be able to, I mean, I understand they don't want me to get all the emails and put them in my own newsletter, right? Emailer, but at least let me download the people so I see the demographics. I got nothing on them. All I have is 12,500 people that I can look at individually, which would take forever. So that to me is a huge problem.
So Jeff, did you want to say something before?
Yeah, I'm a newsletter guy as well. I started one off of LinkedIn many years ago, like August 2001. So when LinkedIn started offering it, it became something I was interested in. But it's done exactly what I thought it was: an initial surge and difficulty with distribution.
It's built that way. That first publish is the opportunity. The only time on LinkedIn, outside of one other way, that you can actually contact everybody who is in your network one time, and that they receive that one email that says, "Hey, this is the new newsletter. Would you like to subscribe?" That's the one time.
And that's a huge strategy for company pages, right? That's a huge, because company pages, the organic traffic is dead. So I have 22,000 subscribers on my company page, which again, that's another issue I have where people subscribe, but they don't get notified. But if I want to do a newsletter there, I would have that one chance to get everyone's attention to join
up. Make it good. And then they don't ever send it out to everybody after that, except if you look at the wording in help, what it actually says is it doesn't guarantee you're going to receive it as an email. If you see it on LinkedIn, if you spend a certain amount of dwell on that, or you interact with it on LinkedIn, you will not receive it as an email. And so a lot of people, you know, they might have seen it go through their feed. They stopped on it for a couple seconds. They said, "Oh, I'll get that in my email." They just took it out of their email. And then they usually forget that they actually saw it, right? Maybe even interact, maybe even get a like, but they were waiting for the email. They're not going to get the email. And the email now is, there's about a 3-hour delay. So you hit publish, everybody who sees that in that 3 hours will not get the email. And that's probably why you don't get your own newsletter, because you probably interacted with it already on LinkedIn before that 3-hour window.
So welcome,
that's
Claire.
kind of what's happening.
I'm sorry. Welcome, Claire. We're talking about anything LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be newsletters. Is there anything you want to, talk about specifically?
Oh, I'm so glad you guys are talking newsletters because I haven't really jumped in there, and so I'm soaking it all in. So, Bobby, Kevin, keep talking. Jeff, share all you know.
Oh, sure.
Well, the main thing is that first newsletter. So make sure you have a fantastic title, a fantastic subheading, a fantastic banner image, and a fantastic first 2 paragraphs of a newsletter so that people will hit subscribe, because that's your one chance to get everyone's attention to hit that button subscribe.
I got it.
If you're doing it from a company page, make sure you have. Sorry, we were talking at the same time. I was going to just say, if you're doing it from a company page as opposed to your personal profile, make sure you have enough followers that it's going to make sense, because it's not going to send it to anybody but your followers. So
yeah. Okay. I was just going to say, I might title my first one like, I'm friends with Bobby Umar, and if you like him, you're going to love this. Read more.
If everybody subscribes, Bobby will give you $100.
That's right. Kevin said,
how about hugs? Hugs.
To the end.
That thing's gonna fly $40,000-$50,000.
And it begs the question: how do you expand your reach as a publisher in order to attract more people? Is it purely in the feed that you can do that?
Yeah,
because it doesn't seem obvious.
Every single one of my posts, I will put in there. I always have it used to be my top comment. I would try to get it to the top. Now you can pin it, right? Every one of them in there, the first couple things is subscribe to my newsletter. And I pick up a couple every week based on just that at the bottom of every one of my posts. It's in the comment section, it's pinned, but it works. And it's been growing, not at the rate that first night, right? But it has been growing. And that's the only thing you can really do.
You know what people should do that they don't do, which is you should cross promote with other newsletters. So, for example, if I did a piece, like a joint piece with, say, Sweta and her newsletter, and she did something with my newsletter, or I did one with Anders and his newsletter, and vice versa, it's a way for us to attract each other to each other's newsletters, because she has 50,000, he's got 70,000, so I would be able to track those people to my newsletter, and vice versa. But that's something a lot of people don't do, but I think that's a good way to do it too.
what if we all do a newsletter about all the features that we need fixed? Tag each other. Tag Tomer.
That's good. Every time I've wanted to see more growth and on LinkedIn, it's been just as you've said, it's going as a group. It's either collaborating with somebody on something, or shouting somebody out that I just learned. Like this morning, we're training a new puppy. He's actually asleep right now. No, if you really want to see a post go viral, put a puppy picture on it. But this gentleman, Ken Simpson, reached out to me this morning and just said, "Hey, if you ever need puppy advice, please call me. I'm a trainer." And so I'm going to shout him out later this week. And generally, I find that whenever, like you're saying, you cross promote or you promote other people, genuinely, of course, it seems to bring a lot of traction.
Mm-hmm. So I have a general question. Why is it so hard for LinkedIn to make it easy for us to search, whether it's by newsletters or by events, audio versus non-audio, or other things? It seems to me, and I'm speaking a little bit as a developer now, it seems to me it should not be too hard if you have all those search criteria to add additional ones, instead of that long list of newsletters, which I'm not even sure if it still exists or not, with those links. Am I being naive about that?
Yeah. You're being naive, because they could have done this years ago.
Yeah.
But they've chosen not to.
Okay.
Now they're getting ready with the featured discovery, where we're going to have tabs for feed, and supposedly searches within the tabs. But part of that is you'll be able to go to a newsletter tab and also actually search for newsletters, or an audio video event tab and search for audio and video events besides what's in the feed. So they're working on something similar, which I think is going to get there. The biggest issue with LinkedIn search is this whole thing about relevance. And that is, they're trying to figure out, is it relevant to you, Kenneth? Now, if you went and you did a search, right, and it came up with the results of newsletters, and you went down to number 8, and then you went to the next page, you went down to 11, those ones on that first page, they're going to say, well, those aren't relevant to Kenneth. So he will probably never see those again.
Mm-hmm.
Now you come back, you search the next day, and you're looking at newsletters about puppies, right? And they were on the first page. And you're not finding any of those because they're now gone because LinkedIn decided it wasn't relevant to you. So they've really got to figure this relevance thing out. That's the same reason if you're ever trying to figure out, well, how does my profile rank? And you search, for a couple of terms, one day it's on the first page. You search half an hour later and it's on the 15th page, right? They saw that you already saw it on the first page. Now it's going to be on the 15th page because it's no longer relevant. So this relevance thing really messes up the searchability on LinkedIn. And a lot of times LinkedIn does this. One of the core reasons is so that we cannot sit there and figure out exactly how to optimize my profile so I'm number one in everything. Because if I can then search and tell, right, then I can figure out what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
When they have this relevance thing in there, it obfuscates it. So I can't really figure out what I just did that actually help me? Or now am I farther down on the search list because they think it's less relevant because I've already seen myself in the search. And that's why they do it. It's to keep control of the platform. So you can't game the system. And so to me, I wish they would just get rid of it. I think it's ridiculous. I'd rather game the system and teach people how to do that than not be able to find things when I go to search. And that's the problem with LinkedIn search. You can actually search LinkedIn better, like X-ray through Google. You can look for newsletters quicker through Google on LinkedIn than you can on LinkedIn. So if you're really looking for newsletters, do a Google X-ray search.
For events also?
Yeah. Same thing. So, a lot of it is the relevance in the search to keep people from gaming the system. Makes lousy search.
Hey, I have a question.
What Sales Navigator or Talent Solutions is you get rid of relevance.
I had a question. Hey, Rachel, I had a question. You've been on for an hour. What are some of the key topics you've discussed so I can maybe suggest something we haven't talked about?
Puppies, kittens, selfies. What else?
Hair.
Bagels.
Hair.
A short
a lot of it, honestly, Bobby, is the lack of communication or a disconnect between the things that we want to do versus the things that LinkedIn is doing. How do we?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the most frustrating things because we love LinkedIn, but it's also a love-hate relationship because we're not being listened to, and all the people that are really passionate about LinkedIn and talk about it. I mean, there's some really, really basic things that we're screaming for, like LinkedIn Audio. Just offer an option for replays, offer an option for co-hosts, offer an option to put a link up there. And and if I don't have those things, I'd rather do Twitter Space. I'd rather do Clubhouse because I can do those things and I can repurpose content. And then the same thing, my biggest pet peeve is the ring my bell, the followers of my company page and the subscribers to my newsletter. You have 3 different places where people are specifically saying, I want to see that content, and yet they're not sharing that content. And I find that to be frustrating as a user experience because, especially the company page, because, I shared some stuff on my profile page and other places, and I tested, 22,000 subscribers to my company page. I shared a post. There were 6 impressions. 6. Do I really honestly believe that 22,000 people saw this thing and only 6 people took a look at it? I think that's bogus. So for me, it's a huge frustration. I know Andy Foote talks about the fact that LinkedIn obviously is not a monarchy, but they have a monopoly of there are career places, but this is like the main place that people go to. So they have that and they can do what they want. But I don't understand why they wouldn't want to. I understand the need to the desire to maintain private information, but to keep customer service at a level where you're actually giving us things that we want versus waiting forever on things. And I know Kevin shares stuff all the time that they're doing, which is great. I think that's wonderful. But there's some just big eggs there that they could do, or if they can't do it, be transparent with us about here's what we're struggling with. Here's why we can't have an events calendar. Here's why we can't have the replays. I'd love to know why, but they don't even share that with us or have a discussion with us. So I think that's the frustration for me.
I think they launched a minimally viable product to see if there'll be anything that clicked for them. And thus, unless there's more usage, there's no real reason for them to come out with more.
Yeah, but if you don't promote the stuff, I mean,
I agree.
stories were amazing. They should bring them back And just because people weren't using them, because people have to be educated. People aren't using LinkedIn Audio as much either, but they have to be educated. They have to learn that these things are being used. I mean, Twitter Spaces, not everyone's using Twitter Spaces, but the experience there is fantastic, and the people who are there have an amazing time. But they do represent less than 10% of the entire Twitter universe. But you have to educate people on that, and same with LinkedIn Audio. And I wish they'd bring stories back.
Well, I think part of the issue with LinkedIn is the lack of communications. They'll roll out, we have a new exciting feature, and we've already known about it for 2 or 3 months. And by then, we've all kind of brainstormed it and shared it. Now, I understand maybe they can't get it to the whole network, or maybe they have to go through permissions and approvals as to what to say. But that in and of itself is just that idea about the communication on all different levels. And Rachel and I, we talk all the time about automation and about the fact that there's so many fake profiles. And LinkedIn, I mean, by its database, anytime you create an email address, you have a profile. So you could have 800 million email addresses and only have 10,000 or 10 million people. So, but again, that's how they do the numbers. And, Rachel, I'd love to have you chime in on anything you'd like, join the party.
Now it does require you to have a phone number, a unique phone number.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Email and unique phone number. They started that about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Now you can still go to like Google Phone and get new phone numbers pretty easy, but it's a lot more difficult to do that. And they do also, you can't do mass IP accounts.
I recently changed my email on LinkedIn because it was clogging my inbox. I couldn't breathe. And so I never checked that box very often where, it says linky emails or something like that. I can't check that very often because it was messing with my ability to do client work and find, normal emails. So I wish there was a solution for that where I didn't get so many notifications from LinkedIn. Anybody?
Well, you can turn off your settings. You just have to go through.
Yeah, you can go into settings.
Pain in the butt, but you can go through your settings and turn off all. I don't get email for really anything except for
me neither.
The most important stuff I don't want to miss. Yeah, you just need to spend some time, deep dive on the settings and turn all that stuff
and
off.
decide which ones you want. The other thing you can do too, and what I always do is you create a filter inside. Let's say if you're using Outlook or LinkedIn or what do you call it, Mac Mail, you can put a mailbox and just everything that comes in from LinkedIn goes in that. Boom, right? And when you decide you want to look at it, you can. But then all your good stuff, the stuff you got to respond to, is there. I like doing that, and that works really well. And you can even break up the different types of LinkedIn emails based on the address coming in. So you can even set up separate ones. Like I get a lot of service provider leads that come through. I want to see those, but I don't want to see the other notifications potentially. And so you can set up those little filter folders.
Look at all these new people. Let's hear from Rachel and everyone else. Let's go down the line here.
Brenda, welcome.
This is so fun. Yeah, it was a summer party, so I brought out my
That's awesome.
I have my Hawaiian shirt on.
I know. I see that. I wasn't going to wear my braid shirt and troll you.
I could actually put the shades on too, but I'd be too cool.
I like that, Ken.
I love being up here with all you guys. I can hear my kids rearranging my kitchen in the background though, so I think I have to go.
Nah, they do a great job.
Okay, but can I pose a question and then listen in an earbud after I jump off?
Sure.
Here's what I'm really curious to know about everybody here. Your shoe set. No, just kidding. Nothing weird. But here's what I want to know. So we're talking about, how frustrating it is that a lot of these things aren't quite as robust and they're not giving us the results we want, like newsletters and audio rooms, which reminds me that having multiple platforms and also owning content and owning a place where my, audience can go, my clients can go off of social is so, so important, like an email list or like on my own website. So I'm curious what different platforms and ways that you all are doing this and what has worked well for you. Because I tried Twitter and I hated it. But I'm willing to give it a try if you feel like it's, beneficial to connecting it with LinkedIn and serving people from multiple places. So that's my
I can
question.
comment on this. I can comment on this briefly, which is, I first started. I've been a social media guy for a long time, and but Twitter was the place where I first started to take off back in 2000 and 2011. And I was able to get gigs off that for speaking, and it was really a great place to build my thought leadership. But then I transitioned to doing stuff on LinkedIn as my primary platform. But what I've learned is that, every single platform can be used, but you have to focus on each platform if you want to grow it. So when Clubhouse came in, again, I tried to grow Clubhouse, and you got to do it on that platform. So for me right now, LinkedIn is my primary place for strategic connections, for building thought leadership, sharing my expertise. But what really has worked well for me is audio rooms, particularly on Twitter Spaces and on Clubhouse, because it directly leads to business. Whereas on LinkedIn Audio, I still use it, but I have to use a combination of direct messages to build that relationship and then maybe get a Zoom call. But people actually buy directly off me on my Twitter Spaces and my Clubhouse. And so for me, I'm one of those people that does a lot of platforms, and a lot of people talk about just doing one, or sometimes we'll say 80% on the one platform, 20% on the other ones. But for me, they're different for different reasons. Like, for example, DMs on Instagram are very powerful because 70-80% of people will respond. And that's way higher than any other platform. So I will go on Instagram to DM people that I want to reach. Daniel Roth, the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn. I comment, I message him, no response. But when I DM'd him on Instagram, he responded to me. And so that's why, and Twitter is great for reaching influencers and experts and people who have a large following. They respond to tweets on that platform. So I use that, but eventually I bring them all back to LinkedIn. And then for my followers, I always direct them to my newsletter and my website. So that's kind of what I do.
Interesting. I'll share a little. I'm actually I probably need to find another platform to get a little more active on. I'm horrible at Instagram, and I am a scroller on Twitter. I don't tend to tweet anything out, and I refuse to spend that much time on Facebook. But what I've actually had the best luck with is investing a little bit of money every month in Google Ads. And I have somebody that helps me with that. And that's driven a lot of traffic to my website and actually gotten me new business. It's been a bit of a learning curve. When we first started the ads, for some reason, we had certain words in there where people thought I was LinkedIn customer support. So I was getting a lot of phone calls asking if I could help people update their email address. They got locked out of their account, and I was like, why the heck am I getting these calls? And I realized it was a combination of some of the words that we had in the ads, but it has helped me close a significant amount of new business. So, and then that will get people on my email list as well. So that's been a strategy that's been very useful. And again, I probably invest a little time in some other platform to diversify.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. I hate to leave. You guys are like some of my favorite people on the planet. So just know that. And then here comes Rachel, Jack, and Brenda. We didn't even get to chat yet. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kenneth, for getting us all together. And I'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Welcome, Jack. Welcome,
Hey.
Brenda.
So this is great. Ken Palooza. I love this.
So, Jack,
Yes, sir.
you've been you do a lot of writing every day on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm pretty compulsive. Yeah, psychotically compulsive, I suppose.
No.
But
Spoken by a guy who puts out 6 posts a day.
Okay.
Well, but what do you think about the platform? What do you think about using it? I mean, because you also write for Forbes, so I'd be curious to know, do you get a lot of traffic off the LinkedIn posts there, or how does that actually work?
I could definitely get more traction on Forbes platform itself, but I like putting it on LinkedIn because I get you get feedback. I enjoy and appreciate people who comment on my post, because I get a lot of insights into what people are thinking, what are the topics that are really important and resonate with folks, what job seekers are looking to do. So it's really kind of helpful to have a pulse on it. The platform itself, let's be frank, it's not really geared to help us at all. It's it is what it is. And I'm kind of trying to be very zen about things in life. And if I can't control it, I'm not going to make myself crazy about it. I'm just going to do what I could do. I mean, it's frustrating. I'm not going to lie. It's very frustrating where like I'll write a lot of great pieces and you think it's really perfect for the audience on LinkedIn. And yet you feel you're throttled by the, AI. So it kind of sucks, but it is what it is, So, try to kind of I figure I try to put good content out there and hopefully good content will be noticed. Maybe it's a little harder to get noticed at times, but eventually you get through.
So Brenda, we were talking before about company pages a little bit and about the traction or the lack of traction on company pages versus personal pages. And I know, you can speak to that in a little different way too. I mean, feel free to chime in with anything you want. I mean, I don't want to, kind of force you into saying anything that you're not really.
Well, first I got to ask, did you get your pumpkin spice latte today? Because I got one. Like after I saw your post this morning, I was like, do they have them yet?
They
And
do.
like,
They do.
I was like,
I actually have my iced
I'm like,
tea.
I gotta go.
No,
Did you get
I'm
one?
doing iced tea. I'm doing that later on when I need my afternoon buzz, actually.
Do they do iced pumpkin spice lattes too, or is
God.
it only? I don't know.
I actually posted today because they have these Pepperidge Farm, these fish now, these graham cracker fish that are like pumpkin spice.
Oh no! See,
No.
we've gone too far.
Can we
No,
just
man.
take a vote on pumpkin spice? Yay or nay?
I did a poll on that
I will
today.
never ever understand why everybody's obsessed with pumpkin spice. I think it's
Yeah.
grotesque.
I can't say anything because this is what I drink. I have like Dr. Pepper, cream soda, Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper. So I'm not very, I don't know.
It just seems like pumpkin spice season is earlier and earlier
Yeah.
every year. Like it feels wrong that it's August.
Yep.
So going back to your question, Kenneth, about company pages, I'm going to bang the drum of what I've been saying forever about company pages, which is I want you to think about chicken bouillon cubes. You know, those little cubes that you buy at the grocery store, they're super, super concentrated and you got to like add like one of those little cubic squares to like 3-4 cups of water for it to make chicken broth because they're super, super concentrated. And that's to me what a company page is, because when you think about it, company pages are a destination. You really don't see company pages too much in the homepage feed. Every now and again you do. It's more the sponsored posts that you see other than anything else. But if you can get people to come to your company page, they have blinders on because the only thing they see is your company page posts inside there. And if you've got them to come over there, they did that on their own. It wasn't because LinkedIn pushed it out into the homepage feed. It's because it's a destination. They went there. So now you've got somebody who is open and receptive to your message, who went to that destination by choice. Again, if you think about the chicken bouillon cube, it's highly, highly concentrated. And that's what your audience is when you get them to come over to your company page. They're highly concentrated. They're interested in their engage with your business. If you can get them to follow the page, it's like they raise their hand. They say, hey, I want to learn more about Bobby Umar or Rachel Simon or whatever your business is. They're looking to learn more about it. So even though we don't get as much traffic, I still think it's a good thing to have a company page and to put some emphasis on it. And I'll get off my soapbox now.
Hey, here's the challenge, but here's the challenge though. So someone wants that. I love your analogy, by the way. Someone wants my company page. They like it. Either I invited them or they saw the content. They want to go there, and then they subscribe to it, but then they don't get notified. And so for me, that's a huge problem because these people are not. I mean, unless they manually go visit again, they might say, "Okay, Bob."
Your newsletter or follow the page? What are you referring to?
I'm talking about the page. I'm talking about the page.
So when they follow the page, I mean, potentially what should happen is if you have a post that's getting a lot of engagement, it will be pushed out to the homepage feed by common connections. So it doesn't happen as often as our personal page posts do. So for that reason, what I do, Bobby, is occasionally I'll tag my page Meller Marketing from Brenda Meller because that'll drive more people to come back to it, whether they're following or not. I get it. And it's like, I mean, who was it that said it earlier, Jack? You know, you kind of like, you can throw your hands up and you can get frustrated, or you just do what you can do, right? And we all know it's not our sandbox. We don't make up the rules, and we can sit here and we can go, well, you don't get as much reach on a company. And we can say that all day long, and we can say, well, people are following and they're not getting okay. But knowing that what we know, let's think about the user behavior once they do get there, and let's think about other techniques to drive them back. I agree with you, Bobby. It's frustrating if they say they're following it. Why doesn't it push it into the homepage feed? But it's just a lot of wasted effort to complain to LinkedIn about something I don't think they're going to change. So
no, I guess my point.
right?
No, I know, but I guess my point was that if they come to my page because they like the content, then they
Mhm.
click the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Then, the idea is that we're going to attract them, but then they want to come back, but they won't, or they may not because they may not see it. So,
Right.
I what I would hope for is people who subscribe or like more recently, or people who are invited and accepted more recently, it will at least show it to them in the first, month or two that they are there.
Yeah.
And I can understand it fading away, but that's not what happened because I invite the 250 people and then I see, but I'm not sure, but they're not really, some of them are just not engaging even though they accept the invite. So it's and again, yeah, keep pushing, keep doing it. But at the same time, all of us who are busy content creators have to decide where we want to spend our time. Now, I'm still advocating for company pages, and there's ways to make them work. But whether we want to spend time on newsletters, live streams, LinkedIn audio events, company pages, all that daily content, weekly content, we have to figure out what works best for us and where we want to optimize our time.
See, I'm a big believer in improving the search functionality, period, because it's just about impossible to search for types of events. It's almost impossible to search for types of newsletters, etc. It's like, from a learning perspective or a training perspective, it would be a lot easier that way. And when Kevin was on the call before, we talked about things that LinkedIn's going to be doing. That's all well and good, but unless they communicate it out before we all do, then you get this miss. Like, I have it, you don't have it. I have it, you don't have it. What, why don't I have it? And I guess I want to understand why, but it's just so frustrating that we all don't get a lot of these changes or updates at the same time and in the same way.
We gotta love to hate it, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, we joke about it, but the truth is we're all passionate about this.
It's true. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do think sometimes, like, I feel like I wish LinkedIn would embrace those of us that are so, the evangelists, those of us that just want people to use the platform in the best, most authentic way possible. Like, we're on your team here. We want to help.
Make it easy.
We just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? Love us.
Tell us what to do and we'll do it.
Just tell us.
One thing that came out of today is that we don't think that the senior people there, the CEOs and stuff, even realize what's going on. The product owners just kind of they do it. So there's a whole disconnect there that they don't realize the frustration at our level. And we talked about maybe a bunch of us getting together as a community and sending a letter, or all sending letters, or all contacting the same people. Because I think the product owners, it's almost like that gatekeeper when you look for a job. That gatekeeper there determines who's going to get to know what, or when you're looking for something. So I almost look at it that way, for sure.
Aren't we not supposed to talk about that on a LinkedIn Live? You guys remember when we first got LinkedIn
It's pretty
Live?
meta, right? That we're talking
They
about.
were like, I was like,
we're all talking about.
I
it this
can't
way,
talk
yeah.
about LinkedIn on LinkedIn. Okay, I'll talk about marketing.
Are they going to
bizarre.
cut the feed? They're going to cut the feed here.
Right,
okay.
Kenneth, you're going to lose your LinkedIn Live access.
right.
Stop.
They'll put me in jail.
Right.
They'll take away my access. This is actually a beta test to see if LinkedIn will actually.
Right. If they notice, this is purposely.
notice it.
You're doing this
Exactly.
purposely to see if they're paying attention. It's. He doesn't really mean it at all.
No,
He
I was
wants
just
to kind
kidding
of
for
get
the last hour and
attention.
a half.
LinkedIn is
It's just like
wonderful.
Claire's kids were making a lot of noise to get attention, and it worked, right?
Right.
They got attention. Can I throw this out to you guys? I
Sure.
wonder. See, I have this interesting thing that happens to me where I put a lot of content out there, whether it's for my writing or whether from my search firm in terms of the different jobs we have, and oftentimes don't hear anything. Right? Really don't see much engagement. But then if I have one-on-one conversations with people, they'll invariably say, hey, I really like your work doing X. And they're not saying it to be polite, because then they'll reference certain things. Maybe they'll reference a piece that they read. Maybe it's a job that I posted or whatever. So then I'm like, why then am I not seeing them kind of, making comments or liking things, but yet they are kind of engaged, but engaged invisibly. I mean, I don't even know how to measure that or what that even means. Like, do you folks see that as well?
Well, that's a common thing on all platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an interesting stat. 70% of people on Twitter don't tweet, right? They consume, right? They read information, they look at articles, right? They find out what's going on in the world. And the same thing, I would say it's like the iceberg, right? Where you have 10% of the people above the water are commenting and engaging and stuff, and the other 90% don't. Although sometimes, like I get an email from someone, like when I share my more vulnerable posts about, let's say, body image and health issues that I might have around, I'll get a message from someone saying, I've been following your posts for, insert X number of years. I thought I'd send you a message now.
Right, you were probably surprised, right, that person was
yeah.
doing, because you never even knew that person was following you and paying attention.
No, but I know they are, because I know there's a huge number of people under the iceberg who are not talking, right? And so that's part of the reason why it's good to even share content even without engagement, is that there's always going to be a silent listener that is going to benefit from it. And that's why I try to have share a lesson, share some knowledge. Someone there is going to say, I'm not alone, which is so powerful.
Don't you think in the job seeker side, though, that it's more common? I have a feeling, that's not my my audience, but I believe, and those of you that work on that side that when you're, whether you're considering making a career transition, you may not want to be publicly
absolutely
those things. So that's maybe why you're not getting as much engagement, but they're paying attention to you.
Yeah.
That's
what keeps me going, by the way, because otherwise it'd be very frustrating. Like, I'm putting this out and nothing is happening. But then when you hear they get, I want to talk about this job you posted. I'm like, all right, you didn't like it, you didn't comment on it, but to your point, exactly, is that they don't want to blow up their spots. So they don't want to say anything and get in trouble. Their boss will say, hey, how come you're liking Jack's stuff? Are you unhappy at work? Something going on.
It's like asking, why don't people send letters to the editor for something they saw in the newspaper? They don't. But on LinkedIn, I know my first coaching client came to me because he was referred by the CMO of an Italian clothing firm. And I have no idea who this person was, but he referred someone to me who was up for a chief of staff role to the president of one of the TV networks. Now, how this guy found me, I have no idea. I have to assume he had observed me for a while and he trusted his friend with me. So you never know because the data is so bad. So in other words, shotguns.
It also reminds me of the whole idea that people, like I had a friend who worked at a call center, and he said, 90% of people who call a call center are complaining, right? And the other, 9% are asking about information. The other one, and there's only 1% that share gratitude and love, right? So, LinkedIn, there are going to be people that are going to talk about things or talk about the latest things and talk about their challenges and issues. Although it's interesting to see that I frown on the fact that some people are discouraged from critiquing LinkedIn, but I understand it's their platform. And so, but I think it's good for us to have a healthy, constructive criticism and appeal for the things that we want and why we think they're so important, how they're going to help people. And if we keep doing that, maybe, we'll start to be a buzz in everyone's ears.
No, I agree with you, Bobby. And I want you to know, I think we should be allowed to openly talk about our recommendations to LinkedIn to help improve LinkedIn, or even our criticisms. If there's a new feature that rolls out, we should be able to talk about it because we're very heavy users of the platform. I guess I'm coming from a place of, I don't want to see like Kenneth losing his ability to do LinkedIn Live because LinkedIn technically says, well, you weren't supposed to talk about LinkedIn in a LinkedIn. I don't want to see that happening.
He was just playing. He was just saying. He was just messing around. He wasn't being honest.
Hypothetically, it's all a hypothetical.
I have this friend who once did this LinkedIn Live.
He's just messing around. He didn't mean it at all. He told us that beforehand. He's just joking.
But again, I called this as an end of the summer get together. We just happened to be talking about LinkedIn. I mean, who would have thunk? Could have been anything.
Are we allowed to talk about LinkedIn on LinkedIn audio events, Bobby? That's what we do every week.
Yeah, let's talk about. We can talk whatever we want, right, Kenneth?
Right.
He's giving us free reign here.
Hey, I don't know. I mean,
but is there like a rule on those too? I mean, like there's technically you're not supposed to talk about LinkedIn on LinkedIn Live, but are we allowed to talk about LinkedIn technically on LinkedIn audio? Don't talk about it. Because if not, we might just be talking about something related to LinkedIn at 4:00 today, me and Bobby.
I wonder what that might be. I don't know.
We don't talk about LinkedIn. No.
Oh, no.
Right.
Jesus.
No, I think it's important for us to have these conversations. And I think most people most of us who are in the, let's call it LinkedIn expertise space, I mean, they want us to talk about LinkedIn. I mean, the things I'm an expert on, whether it's networking and personal branding or Twitter and LinkedIn, I'm going to talk about those things, and or even talk about Clubhouse. And like, why are you talking about Clubhouse on LinkedIn? This isn't Facebook, like all that kind of garbage. Like I talk about vulnerable storytelling. So I'm going to share vulnerable stories on LinkedIn. I talk about Clubhouse. I want to talk about Clubhouse on LinkedIn because I know there's people up there who want to know about it and how to do well with it. And other people are just focused on LinkedIn. That's great too. But we're serving. So
well, we are actually LinkedIn's customer service. We are actually their help. And I say that not facetiously, because I get so many questions, as I'm sure you all do, about how to do this on LinkedIn. If this doesn't work or that doesn't work, and we answer the questions, and part of me is like, LinkedIn just put up a help area that you can find things in and not have to navigate through.
Mm-hmm. Hey, can I? It's all right if I pop off. I just got to get on this.
I was going to
can I come back on?
No, I was going to end this at 2:30 if this is okay with everyone.
Oh, all right.
No, I mean, I see what you guys don't know what's behind me. We have people in the house doing some major construction work, and have the door closed, and I'm waiting for that call, that teachable moment, Brenda, where someone comes into the room and is on the chat or on the call. It's like, can you come here for a minute? So on the one hand, I want the contractor to come here and be on this LinkedIn Live, but on the other hand, I don't know if I want to be prepared for what that person has to say.
Hey, Kenneth, before we leave, can I ask a question?
You can ask any question you like. Sure.
If we all, the people who are up on screen right now, have any free resources to share with your listeners, would you mind if we dropped it into your?
Absolutely not. Put in your. No, absolutely not. I mean, when this is over, you go back and respond to the chat, add what you want. Brenda, you've got your group, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is about, helping each other out. I mean, I always, like in your group, Brenda, I like to first make sure it's okay for me to post stuff there, just as a courtesy and everything else, because that's the way it should be. But this isn't, anyone who wants to post anything there, this show would not have been possible without you guys. I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm happy everyone's here together, but otherwise it'd be me chatting for an hour and a half, and no one really wants to hear that.
Well, thanks for having us and putting this together.
Always fun.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.
Be great. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.